Yes, here we go, guys. It's Tuesday night, but this is the first time that I've seen you on my channel due to the Super Bowl being on Sunday, due to Valentine's Day being yesterday. But guess what? Here we are anyway. It's live. It's Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Central Time, and you know what that means, you guys. It means it's time for Just the Tip with me, your host, Uncle Weezy, where I will give you just the tip of the stats for all 12 fights on the UFC Vegas 48 card that's coming up this Saturday, February 19th, 2022, you guys. We got a main event that was supposed to be Rafael dos Anjos against Rafael Fisayev. Now we've got Johnny Walker versus Jamahal Hill. So a striker's delight for you guys, a great fight. A couple of really exciting young up-and-coming 205ers here. So we're going to see what we get when these two square off in the cage. But as always, we're going to do what we always do here on Just the Tip, and that's break down all 12 fights on the UFC Vegas 48 card from a statistical standpoint here. And I'm going to start with the tail of the tape. We're going to do the experience pro in UFC, the finish stats pro in UFC. We are going to do the grappling stats, the striking stats, the strength of schedule, and the last five. We're going to go from north to south, from east to west, from nose to toes, give you everything that you need to make the best gambling decisions that you could possibly make for this card. Also, in the description of this video is the link to Stat Diggers, which we did on Pub Sports Radio last night, DFS by the Numbers and I. And there's also a link in there to the stats, which we will be going along with for every fight on this card. Feel free to download them for free. So let's do it, you guys. Let's see what you guys are up to here in the chat, and then we will get to breaking down these fights. We got JP62 saying, can't wait for this one. We got Mark Schillingberg saying, oi, main event breakdown. Let's get after it. Let's do that, man. And we got Chris for the Love MMA saying, oi. As always, respect for the grind, Unc. Let's go, Hill. TKO Walker's goofy ass. Yeah, he's a wild one, that Walker, man. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes, but I do think it's going to be a very interesting fight. It absolutely has to be more exciting than the Santos Walker fight, because that's one of the worst fights of all time. We got nowhere to go but up with this fight, so let's figure out a way that we can make some money off of UFC Vegas 48 in that main event, you guys. Thanks for hanging out, Chris. It's much appreciated. We got Victor De Jesus in the room saying, oi, yes, time to shave ass. Let's go. Good to have you here, Victor. Much love to you, brother. We got Daz Files saying, oi, sure hope Hill flattens Walker. I think he will, Daz Files. We got Andy MG in the room saying, oi, what's good, Uncle? We appreciate your work, and hopefully we can cash a few tickets this week. Absolutely, man. It's all about cashing those tickets. I was saying on Stat Diggers on Sunday night that the good events are the ones where you cash tickets, man. It's that simple. You know, if you're not cashing tickets, you're not having fun. Doesn't matter how big the names are on the card. All that matters at the end of the day is, did we cash some tickets? Did we have some fun? Did we make some money? And if the answer is yes to all three, then we had a good week. And let's see, Chris saying the same here. Daz, we got Addicted to Combat, my man, saying just lit a cigar, ready to dive into this card. Nice, man. We got Glenbot 5000 saying, what's up, folk? Addicted to Combat saying, as a bettor, I'm on Hill, but as a Scotch drinker, I hope Walk pulls it off. I like it, man. Dude, you guys got to check out Addicted to Combat's channel if you have not yet. The guy does some great work on YouTube. I follow him on Twitter. He's been doing, I think he already did a main event breakdown this week. Go check it out, man. The guy's doing some real good work. Thanks for hanging out, brother. Much love to you, man. We got Metalingus saying, oi. And we got my guy Val Duar saying, let's go. And we got Metalingus saying 0001111, which could also be, we could also call that oi. Yes. And we got Blood Money in the room saying, Weezy, what's up, brother? LFG. We got Paul saying, oi. We got Blood Money saying, couple decent fights this week. There are, man. There's some exciting fights on this card. And like I say, man, it's all about making the money anyway, man. We got Jarno Portilla all the way from Finland saying, let's go and make some good bets again. Let's do it. I know he cashed some bets last week just like I did. Cuban Assassin saying, what's up, Weezy? What are the chances Keith Peterson smoked 2 packs of Benson & Hedges menthol at The Rock? a Billy-themed Super Bowl party he threw. Oh, man. That would be pretty cool because I know Keith Peterson isn't a punk band, so I could see him throwing a rockabilly-themed Super Bowl party. But that would have been a good one to go to. He probably would have been choking on all the secondhand smoke, but that's all right, man. There would have been some good whiskey there. There would have been some good times, I'm sure. Keith Peterson, somebody I would definitely like to party with, man. The guy is no nonsense when it comes to how he refs fights, and no nonsense when it comes to partying and singing in his punk band. We got Christopher the Love saying, LOL. True, Unc. Santos fought with more output against Jones on one good leg compared to the Walker fight. Yeah, I think he even blew out both knees in that fight. It was crazy, man. I can't believe how bad that fight was. It's a shame because Walker's fights have been really exciting, with the exception of that fight. And Mark saying, I didn't realize it was just the tip. I thought we were going balls deep into Hill Walker. Full card. Sweet. I'm pumped. Nice. Yeah. You know what I've done? Instead of putting UFC Vegas 48, Hill versus Walker, I put Hill versus Walker, UFC Vegas 48. So when I saw your comment, Mark, I actually switched it around in the video. And it looks like my internet connection here, you guys, is screwing up. Let me just switch over to my other thing here. I'm back, you guys. Thank you. Okay. So let's see here. We've got Gorilla Gambles, my guy on Twitter, saying, what's up, Uncle Weezy? It's good to see you in here, Gorilla. We got Glenbot saying, got some hot takes from the main event. And we got Swoosh Plays Games saying, feels like a lot of dogs will win this weekend, including Walker. Yeah, dude, it could be wild, man. I mean, this is going to be a good fight. I just watched all the tape on Walker prior to the Santos fight. So I was reminded of what an exciting fighter that he is. So it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to seeing him make a better showing of himself than he did with his last fight. And Jamahal Hill has always been exciting, always been fun to watch. So it's going to be a good one, you guys. And Blood Money saying War Onama, and we are going to talk about that fight. But let me just share my screen here with you guys. We'll get Smooth Jimmy Apollo up here on the screen. And then we are going to start going through the stats for all 12 of these fights and see if we can find some spots, you guys. So let's see if Smooth Jimmy. Dude, we got Cameron James in here saying, Weezy, you helped me win $20K. Thank you, brother. Damn, dude, that is awesome. Congrats on the big win, Cameron. That's what we love to hear here on Just the Tip. That's what we love to hear on my channel, man, is people going out there and taking some money from these bookies, making good bets, considering all the angles before they make those bets. And that's how we cash big tickets like that, man. I love to hear that. Big up yourself, brother. Let's go and let's make some more money this week, you guys, for UFC Vegas 48. So we've got 12 fights to break down on this card, you guys. We're going to go through all the stats for all of them, and we're going to start, like we always do, with the tail of the tape for the curtain jerker, and we have got Mario Bautista taking on short notice replacement for Khalid Taha, Jay the Joker Perrin. So both of these guys are 28 years old. It's going to be Bautista, who's the longer, taller guy, but both of these guys have a 69-inch reach, and they both fight out of both stances. Jay Perrin fighting out of Team Sityodong, which is basically, I think, where Cater and Font and all those guys, Peter Barrett was training out of there. There's a bunch of guys training out of that camp, East Coast camp, very good kickboxers there. And then we've got Mario Bautista coming out of the MMA lab in Arizona. It's Jay Perrin, who has 3 more fights and about twice as much time in the pro cage and about 3 more years as a professional mixed martial artist. But it's Bautista who's fighting a higher percentage of his career at the UFC level here. He's got twice as many minutes in the UFC cage. We only have one UFC level fight for Jay Perrin. It was a Contender Series fight that he lost by unanimous decision. If we look at how these guys finish stats, you guys, or how they finish fights, we see that Bautista has finished 75% of his wins, 37.5% by knockout, 37.5% by submission, and Perrin has got a 55% finish rate in his 9 wins, so 5 out of 9. And then he's been finished in 1 out of his 4 losses, and Bautista has been finished in both of his pro losses. So a combined 50% finish rate in the losses, and a combined, let's see, it'd be 6 and 5 would be 11 out of 17, so about 60-ish% in the wins too. So when we look at the striking stats, we've only got 1 fight for Perrin, so not too much to lean on there, but 47% striking defense, not good. Bautista landing about 1 more significant strike per minute than he absorbs. He's showing some power, and he's been knocked down twice in 148 significant strikes absorbed, so that's not good. He has been a little bit chinny. Perrin got 4 of the 6 takedown attempts he went for, but got what we don't really know if he had any control time or not, because there was no stats for that. Because it was a Contender Series fight from 2 years ago, they weren't keeping control time stats for that. I don't have that information. Bautista, his fights have been taking place standing over 80% of the time. He's showing 70% takedown defense, being taken down 1.45 times for 15 minutes. Let's look at the strength of schedule here, because we don't have much on Perrin, obviously. Bautista's fighting guys with winning records that are fairly inexperienced, and he's beating guys and losing the same guys with the same record. So 2.5 wins, 1.5 losses is the average opponent that Mario Bautista fights, beats, and loses to. Jay Perrin is not particularly great anywhere and not particularly at a deficit anywhere. He's a mixed martial artist who's, serviceable everywhere, but spectacular nowhere. Bautista is definitely somebody that throws with a lot of power. He uses his length well. He switches stances a lot, throws a lot of kicks, throws a lot of knees. He's got a lot of big strikes. While Perrin is just, he's a good boxer. He mixes in his wrestling. He's pretty good on the ground. He'll try to get your back and get that rear naked choke. But more of his wins, he's more of a decisionator, especially at this level, than he would be as a finisher, because he's not that spectacular anywhere. It should be Mario Bautista winning this fight, you guys, pretty easily here. He's getting this guy on short notice. The guy doesn't have much in the way of wins that we can talk about here. Let's go to Tapology real quick here and take a quick look at who Jay Perrin has beaten and if we recognize any of the names on his resume. So 10-4 for Perrin. He just recently won the CES championship at bantamweight over Josh Smith. He's got a win over Diego Silva, 12-5 in Cage Titans. He's got a loss to Dwight Joseph in the Contender Series. Win over Kin Moy, 9-3. Win over Johnny Campbell, 16-9. Win over Sean Rao, 2-1. And Mark Frisk, 0-1. And he's got some losses back in 2017 in Bellator. Win over Chad Kelly in Combat Zone. So, there's not much here for us to hang our hat on. It's Bautista who's been fighting the better brand of competition. It's Bautista who's the better striker. Bautista's done a pretty good job keeping fights on the feet, even though his opponents haven't really tried to take him down that much. This should be Bautista. He probably could finish this guy, but he is fairly hard to finish. So I'm just going to say Bautista, the money line. We don't even know where it is. Let me refresh the page. I've got tickers for the rest of the fights because I don't think this line has opened yet, you guys. And I don't see anything on Best Fight Odds saying that there's a line on this fight, but it'll probably open up around -300, -350 for Bautista because we don't know much about this Perrin guy. Even though he's more experienced than Bautista, it's Bautista who's fought the better brand of competition. That goes a long way in setting the line in your favor here. So, yeah, let's talk about Jay Perrin here and just say that he's got a fighter's chance. He's a good mixed martial artist, but he's going to need to catch Bautista with something or just out wrestle him for 3 rounds to win that fight. And I don't think he's got much of a chance to do that, you guys. Let's start here now with what we've got. And that is our little ticker that I've got going now. And we're going to go to the Jonathan Pearce fight. It's Jonathan Pearce versus Christian Rodriguez, you guys. So Christian Rodriguez is a short notice replacement for Austin Lingo. He took this fight on 6 days' notice. He fights out of Rufus Sport in Milwaukee. It is going to be Rodriguez, who's 24, Pearce 29. Pearce is going to be 5 inches taller than Christian Rodriguez, and they have the same reach. It's Christian Rodriguez, who's an orthodox fighter. Jonathan Pearce fights out of both stances. Pearce coming out of Fight Ready. Christian Rodriguez out of Rufus Sport. It's Pearce, who's twice as experienced, and he's got more than about 2.5 times as much time in the pro cage compared to Christian. And he's got about 4.5 more years as a pro mixed martial artist, you guys. 3 more UFC level fights and about 16 more minutes in the cage. Both of these guys are finishers. Rodriguez has finished 6 of his 7 wins inside the distance. Jonathan Pearce, 10 of 11. So when you add it up, 16 of these 18 wins that these guys have combined for are finishes. So almost a 90% combined finish rate in these guys' wins. And Jonathan Pearce has been finished in 3 of his 4 losses. So this is a fight that is very likely not to see the scorecards. Number one, because Pearce is a big favorite here, and Pearce has finished all 3 of his UFC wins inside the distance. And because Christian Rodriguez is not a featherweight, he is a bantamweight. He's going to be at a big-time size disadvantage here. He should be at a conditioning disadvantage here because Jonathan Pearce is really at a conditioning disadvantage to nobody. And then you add in the fact that the guy's taking the fight on 6 days' notice, and that makes it even taller of an order to fight a guy like Pearce, who has been very successful in the UFC thus far. Throws a ton of volume. He out-volumes his opponents. He lands a ton of strikes at over a 53% accuracy. He doesn't show great striking defense. He is very hittable, but he's never been knocked down, and Jonathan Pearce has a very good chin, you guys. Christian Rodriguez in his UFC debut, which was a Contender Series fight, looked very good in that fight. He fought Tracy Cortez's little brother, Reyes Cortez. Reyes tried to wrestle Christian with very little success. He did have success holding him up against the cage. So Christian Rodriguez, it does look like he can be held up against the cage, but his takedown defense really held up quite well against Reyes Cortez. Reyes got 2 takedowns on 10 attempts and did manage, though, to rack up 34.56% control time. But in the time that the fight was standing, which was about almost 2/3 of the fight, Rodriguez was really dominating with his boxing and landing the much cleaner, crisper shots. He just looked way better on the feet. Jonathan Pearce, though, has been very good at mixing in the wrestling. And when he combines mixing in the wrestling with the pace, with the pressure, with the never stopping walking forward, it becomes a very difficult thing to deal with. He's a very, very difficult opponent to game plan for. He's just very difficult because he brings this chaos, and in that chaos, he does bring this sloppiness. But it's hard to take advantage of the sloppiness because he can take a punch. He's got a really good chin. And Rodriguez is going to have to keep this fight kind of technical. He's going to need to keep it at range. He's going to need to box Pearce because he has the same reach as Pearce, but it's going to be Pearce who's much bigger and longer here. So I don't see any place for Christian Rodriguez really to win this fight. He does a lot of the things that Pearce does well. Pearce pressures well. He throws a lot of volume. He hits hard. He mixes in the wrestling. Rodriguez pressures. Rodriguez hits hard. Rodriguez walks forward and throws a lot of volume. So, right now, I really do believe that Rodriguez has got a bright future in the UFC. But taking a Jonathan Pearce fight on short notice is bad for your career because the conditioning that this guy brings is something that you really need to plan for and work on for 6 to 8 weeks and make good decisions when he brings that chaos that he brings. And it's going to be very difficult for him to do this under the bright lights for the first time on short notice against Jonathan Pearce. Pearce's ratio is 1.36, 8.25 total fights. The average record of a Pearce opponent, 4.75 wins and 3.5 losses. And he's beating guys with winning records, too, with a 2.5 win-to-loss ratio. So, this guy is legit, you guys. Jonathan Pearce is a very big favorite here for a reason. You can see the betting lines and the fight doesn't go to decision. All courtesy of Bet Online on the ticker. We see the wins for Christian Rodriguez over Ryan McIntosh, Reyes Cortez, Chirampolos Gregorio, John Pham, and Jason Huntley, while Pearce has beaten Omar Morales. Kai Kamaka, he got stuck in a really weird spot against Joe Lozon, drowned Jacob Rosales, and beat Cedric Sanders. So last 5 fights for Pearce all finished inside the distance. The 4 of the last 5 fights for Christian Rodriguez all finished inside the distance. And Reyes Cortez showed quite a chin because he took some very clean shots from Christian and kept coming. So I am going to pick Jonathan Pearce to win this fight. I'm going to pick him to get it done late, probably in the 3rd round, and probably by knockout. But let's go on to the next fight, you guys. And right now we got a really good one here. We got Chad Anheliger versus Jesse Strader. And let's start with the tail of the tape on this one. Chad Anheliger, despite the fact that he's making his UFC debut after getting a win on the Contender Series, is 35 years old. Strader, 30. 2 inches taller for Strader, 6-inch reach advantage for Strader, and they both are orthodox fighters. Strader out of Chemo's Fight Factory, and Chad Anheliger out of Anheliger out of Champions Creed in Canada. And the story for Chad is that he was a 2-5 fighter when he started off as a pro. He went to Champions Creed. He had lost a grappling match, I believe, and he had lost a pro fight to both guys from Champions Creed, and he got busted up by them. Went there hat in hand, wanted to improve, and since those guys have been kicking his ass, he figured maybe that camp was doing something that could, turn his career around. And he was right. They handed him a white belt. He started from scratch. He went to the beginner jiu-jitsu classes, relearned the fundamentals, and under their tutelage, he's been on a 9-fight win streak, you guys. So turned a 2-5 record into an 11-5 record, and now here he is in the UFC, squaring off against Jesse Strader, who was 5-1 when he came to the UFC. So maybe a little soon for Jesse Strader, but he had some nice wins on the regional scene in Combate. Fought Marcelo Rojo, almost finished Rojo, but Rojo with that trademark toughness kind of weathered the storm in the first and then came back and got a finish on Strader late in the first. So we do see that Anheliger has 9 more pro fights, about 50 more minutes in the cage. The average fight time for both of these guys between 6 and 7 minutes. So a violence prop here is something that kind of sticks out. It's Anheliger here with about a 7-year advantage in pro as a pro mixed martial artist. They both got 1 UFC fight. Strader, I don't know why they fed this guy to Montel Jordan. Not Montel Jordan. Fucking saying this is how you do it. Montel Jackson. He wasn't ready for that fight. There's no chance that he was ready to take on a fighter of that quality. He got finished in 2 minutes. Very predictable. This is a fight that's a lot more his speed. He's going to be at an experience disadvantage here. Both of these guys are good boxers. Both of these guys mix in their wrestling. And Anheliger did a really good job surviving on the ground against Muin Ghafarov, a Sambo champion from Tajikistan, showing us that he's got some grappling defense. If you get him into tough spots on the ground, he can work out of them. So, I think that he's very well-rounded. He doesn't have much reach, but he does tend to walk his opponents down. And when you walk your opponents down and you're throwing in combination and bringing your feet with you when you strike, you can actually make up for that reach disadvantage and fight to a game plan that will allow you to make use of what your gifts are. And he's got fast hands. He's got very crisp boxing, and he throws in combination. So by combining that with mixing in the occasional takedown and pressuring his opponents, he's done a really good job of masking that short reach that he has. I mean, like, Anheliger has a 64-inch reach. That's the shortest on this card. There's 2 women's fights on this card, and all 4 of the women fighting on this card have a longer reach than Chad does. But despite that fact, he's knocked out 6 of the 11 guys that he's beaten. So he can absolutely knock people out. Another thing here that we got to look at is 5 career losses for Anheliger, 2 for Strader. All 7 of those combined losses have been finishes inside the distance. Chad has only been submitted, and Jesse Strader has only been knocked out. So we don't have much in the way of striking numbers for each of these guys because we've only got one fight. Like, I'll just say that both of these guys have nice boxing. Both of these guys mix in wrestling. I think it's going to be a fairly close fight. It's just Anheliger has been a little bit hotter lately. He's on a 9-fight win streak. We know that he's been able to put together this win streak over a long period of time here. And he's really kind of found the formula to win while he's been at Champions Creed. And Jesse Strader, in the wins that we've seen him get on the regional scene, man, he's looking pretty good too. He's got great boxing. He's got power. He knocks people out. He's finished 4 of his 5 wins inside the distance. So I think that this is going to be a really exciting fight. The line on this one is a little bit wide. Fight goes to decision, sitting around -170 on Bet Online right now. I think that's a fairly good bet here. I think Anheliger might win this one inside the distance by knockout because he's so accurate, because he hits so hard, and because Strader, frankly, does leave some openings. But, this isn't Montel Jackson. This is a step down in competition from what Strader saw in his last fight. And both of these guys, could still be getting better because they're at the point where Anheliger is hot and he's peaking now and he has to go now. But Strader has gotten this door open to the UFC to him, and he's going to try to make the most of it as well. So I see this one being fairly close, but I think once Anheliger has a couple of moments here, he might be able to finish Jesse Strader late in the second or even in the third. But I'm going to pick Chad to win this one by knockout. Next fight, you guys, and I was saying my guy DFS by the Numbers brought this up on Twitter today, and he said, you guys don't realize how hard it is being a content creator when you have to actually, do the research on Diana Belbita versus Gloria Paula. But here we go. I've watched tape on these ladies. I have an opinion on this fight, and that's that I'm not betting it, and you shouldn't either, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So we got Gloria Paula, 26 years old. Diana's 25. It's going to be Diana who's taller here and having a 1-inch reach advantage. They're both orthodox fighters. Shootbox Diego Lima for Gloria Paula and the House of Champions for Diana Belbita. It's Belbita who is a Romanian kickboxing champion, and Gloria Paula is a Muay Thai fighter. So this should be a stand-up war. And if it is, it should be a pretty good fight, actually, because both of these ladies are good kickboxers, and they both kind of suck when their opponents are able to wrestle them, put them on their back, because Gloria Paula has nothing from her back. Diana Belbita has nothing from her back. So they're both at their best when they're standing, and I think that they're going to get the fight that they want from each other here. I think they're going to be able to find out which one of these two is the better striker, and I think it's going to be very, very close. We got Belbita, who's got 11 more professional fights, 58 more minutes in the cage, 3 more years as a pro, and they have the same amount of UFC experience between the two of them. When we watch how they finish fights, Belbita has finished 29% by submission, 43% by knockout, while Gloria Paula has 3 knockouts and 2 decisions to her record. And then when we look at the UFC striking stats for these ladies, Diana throws a ton of volume, 6.72 landed, 6.33 absorbed, 46% striking accuracy. She does have 1 knockdown, and she has never been knocked down, but a very bad 51% striking defense for Belbita. That's not good. Gloria lands 3.39 and only absorbs 1.52, showing 65% striking defense. That's excellent, but she has been knocked down once. And she's fairly low volume. But I think part of the volume problem is the fact that her fights have been taking place in control time positions, over 60% of the time, Well, for Diana Belbita, it's about 40% of the time. So I kind of feel like when you see the piss poor takedown defense out of both of these ladies and the fact that they've spent over 30% of both of their careers being controlled by their opponents, this fight is very close on the feet, but I kind of feel as if whoever is smart enough to start wrestling here can easily win minutes if they don't like how it's going on the feet, because neither one of these girls can stop a takedown if their life depended on it. They both fold like lawn chairs when somebody shoots a double leg. So this could be a situation where if it's standing the whole time, I think it'll be very close. Diana Belbita throws some really nice leg kicks. Gloria DePaula's punches are just straight down the pipe. She's technically beautiful the way that she throws her hands and her legs. And Belbita used to fight up at 125. Now she's been down at 115 here. She looks very skinny at 115, a little bit too skinny in my opinion, but she uses that length well. She uses those leg kicks to kind of control distance, and she does a good job of pressuring. When Belbita lost to Molly McCann, I could tell she did not like being pressured. When Gloria DePaula lost to Jin Fry, you could tell she just didn't like being pressured. So I'm seeing Belbita trying more takedowns. She's attempted 3 in 3 fights when DePaula has attempted 0. And I see Belbita pressuring more. I like that a lot. When we look at the UFC strength of schedule, neither one of these ladies are fighting world beaters by any stretch of the imagination, but it is Belbita who's fighting the slightly better competition and beating the slightly better competition. But Gloria DePaula really only has a win on the Contender Series. I don't know if Diana Belbita has the cage IQ to make good decisions. She took down Liana Jojua, even though Jojua is basically a pure grappler with no striking, and Diana Belbita is a kickboxer, and that cost her, but I guess we have to ask ourselves, did she learn from it? Well, I don't know if she did or not, but I do believe I like the fact that she pressures here. I like the fact that she's willing to try takedowns and has gotten them in the past. And I like the fact that DePaula is truly one-dimensional and would probably not be able to handle a wrestling heavy attack if Diana decided to mix that in. So this being close already on the feet, I think Belbita being the one who walks forward more, the one who throws more volume, and the one who's more likely to mix in the wrestling leads me to believe that it'll be Diana Belbita winning this fight by decision, you guys. Let's go to the next one. And this is Chad Skelly versus Mark Striegl here. We got Chad Skelly is going to be retiring after this fight, if I am hearing correctly. And we got Mark Striegl here, who's making his second UFC appearance. The first one, he got his ass shaved by Said Nurmagomedov in the very first round. And I think it took how many minutes? It took less than 1 minute, 0.85 minutes. So, yeah, that was a quick one, you guys, 51 seconds. But Mark Striegl is 33 years old. Chad Skelly is 36. It is Striegl who's 5'8", Skelly 5'11", 2-inch reach advantage. Orthodox fighter is Skelly. Southpaw is Striegl, fighting out of Fist Gym. And it's Team Takedown for Chad Skelly, even though I know he's done some work at American Top Team as well. Both of these guys have 22 professional fights. Both of these guys have an identical record of 18 wins, 3 losses, no draws, and a no contest. It's Skelly who has more cage time because his average fight time is about 3.5 more minutes than Striegl's is. Both of these guys have been between 12 and 13 years as a mixed martial artist. But it's Skelly who's not fighting tomato cans, and it's Mark Striegl who is fighting tomato cans. One fight at the UFC level for Striegl, and he got finished in less than a minute, while Chad Skelly has had 11 fights at the UFC level, and he's been 7-3 with 1 no contest. So Chad Skelly not only fighting the better competition, but beating the much better brand of competition here. Mark Striegl has gotten only finishes by submission. He's never knocked anyone out, while we have seen Skelly get a couple of knockouts in his career and 56% of his wins by submission. And Skelly has finished 5 of his 7 UFC wins inside the distance, too. So he's a very good finisher at the highest level as well. Skelly's been finished in 1 of his 3 UFC losses, while Mark Striegl has been finished in all 3 of his pro losses. Skelly, not much in the way of striking, but then again, neither is Striegl. Striegl absorbing 21.18 significant strikes per minute. Of course, that's completely skewed because of the ass chafing that he took from Said Nurmagomedov, but still, we saw that he's not great striking, and it's not really UFC level yet. Neither is Skelly's, but Skelly shines with his grappling. His fights are taking place in control time positions about 63% of the time, so he's very comfortable there, and he keeps fights there. And he's very active with submission attempts, averaging 2.42 submission attempts for 15 minutes. And he's getting 1.71 takedowns for 15 minutes. And he's out-controlling his opponents 38% to 26%. So about 1.5 to 1 control ratio for Chaz Skelly. Very good numbers. And, and like I say, it's the fact that the average UFC competition that Skelly's facing has a winning record and about 6.5 total fights. Means that he's been fighting the much better brand of competition. The last 5 names on Skelly's resume: a win by unanimous decision over Jordan Griffin, a no contest with Bobby Moffitt. I don't know why that happened. A knockout loss to Jason Knight, a win by submission over Gritzenmacher, and a win by submission over Maximo Blanco. While the names on Striegl's, Andrew Benibe, Gi Sung Kim, Du Gyam Lee, Shinichi Shimizu, and then Said Nurmagomedov shaved his ass. So, this should be Skelly all day, you guys, but we got a couple things that we do have to just mention here. Chaz Skelly hasn't fought in 2 years. Chaz Skelly is pulled out of a lot of fights recently, you guys. So it's hard to know, what's left in the tank at this point for Mr. Skelly. We see him here, right? Scroll down. Since the no contest to Bobby Moffitt back in 2018, he pulls out against Sam Eckstein in pro grappling in March, pulls out against Jordan Griffin in June. Then he fights Jordan Griffin in September, pulls out against Grant Dawson January 2020, pulls out against Grant Dawson February, pulls out against Jamal Emmers February, pulls out against Trizano October, and now he gets Striegl and he says he's retiring. So he hasn't fought since September of 2019. So it's been 2.5 years since this guy's had a fight, and I don't know what he has left. Should he be better everywhere than Striegl? Yes. Is Striegl just kind of like a pure grappler? Yes. But where Chaz is at his strongest, that's where Mark's at his strongest. It should be Skelly. He should be there, but I can't lay the juice knowing that this is his last fight. He might have one foot out the door. He might not even be entirely healthy. Striegl, on the other hand, doesn't look entirely dangerous at this level. If he was fighting like a kickboxer with bad takedown defense, I think there'd be a much better chance that he could actually find a path to victory here, because if he's much better than somebody on the ground, I would be more confident that Striegl has a chance to win. But Skelly's, bread and butter is the ground game, and he's been swimming on the ground with UFC level competition for the last 8-9 years. So while Striegl just hasn't. Striegel's upcoming, his signature win is over Kai Kara France. But like I say, the other wins are a bunch of guys, Casey Sweary, Kai Kara France back in 2014 in Malaysian Invasion. And then, Harris Sarmiento, 35-23. Robert Wustig, 4-5. This is, but, he's been around for a while. It's just that the competition level is not the same. So, yeah, the pick should be, it's definitely going to be Skelly, you guys, but I just don't have a lot of confidence in it, and I won't be betting it. But if Skelly does win, it probably will be inside the distance, as Striegl has been finished inside the distance in 100% of his losses. So, yeah, Nick Alexander saying Striegl padded record. I agree. Did he say he's retiring? Yeah, I've heard that Skelly says he's retiring, and he's getting to that age at 36 years old. And we got Nick Odd saying, "What's up, Uncle Weezy? Keep up the great content. Appreciate that, my man." We got Bow Better in the room saying, "I would not consider Rosa last time and out and ass shaving. I still like my 1,200 Rojo ticket after round one all day." Yeah. I mean, like, I figured Kyler Phillips would win that fight. So, he finished it. That's an ass shaving for me when you get that win inside the distance. But it was close early. But yeah, Kyler landed some nice shots. And then my man Nick Odd, ring a ding ding, bringing the donations with us here. $4.99 supporting his Uncle Weezy. Much appreciated, Nick. Really much appreciated, man. Thank you so much for big up in the channel and supporting the channel. It means a lot, my man. But let's get to this next fight here. We've got a good one here. This is Jessica Rose Clark, otherwise known as Jessie Jess, fighting Stephanie Egger, who is a Swiss judoka. Let's see here. Let's get that. We got that banner on the bottom there. There we go. So Jessica Rose Clark, 34 years old. Egger is 33. It's going to be Egger with 1 inch of height and 4 inches of reach. They're both orthodox fighters. Stephanie Egger out of Buddy Gym in Switzerland. Jessica Rose out of Syndicate MMA. She's out of Australia, but I know she's been training in the United States. I know she was doing some wrestling before her last fight with DC. We got Jessie Jess is going to have 10 more professional fights, about 160 more minutes in the pro cage, and about 2.5 more years as a pro. And we've got 4 more fights at the UFC level and about 65 more minutes in the UFC cage. So while Egger is going to be bigger here, it's going to be Jessica Rose Clark that has the experience advantage. Jessie Jess finished 45% of her pro wins inside the distance, while for Stephanie Egger, it's 5 out of 6, 3 by knockout, 2 by submission. And in the 8 combined losses between these two ladies, none of them have ever been finished inside the distance. What Egger does well is she's very heavy on top. When she gets on top, she uses ground and pound. She advances position to the mount, and she knocks people out, or she'll sub you down there. Jessica Rose Clark has really been using her wrestling very well lately. She fought Jocelyn Edwards in her most recent fight. Jocelyn is an excellent Muay Thai kickboxer, and Jessica Rose Clark, a very good kickboxer in her own right, said, "You know what? You're not comfortable on the ground. I'm going to take you there, and I'm going to keep you there." And that's what she did. She got a ton of control time in that fight, won an easy unanimous decision. So Stephanie is somebody that's going to need to be able to get the fight to the ground and get on top in order to win minutes here, because she's going to be at a deficit on the ground. Or, I mean, she's going to be at a deficit in the striking. However, Stephanie is a judoka. So if Jessica is good at maintaining distance, she can be the one dictating when the wrestling attacks start, when the grappling exchanges start. Because judokas are most effective with their takedowns when they're in close in the clinch. When you have a collar tie, when you have an overhook or an underhook, when your hips are close, that's when you can get the sweeps, trips, reaps, and throws. But Jessica Rose Clark can maintain distance, use her kickboxing, use her hands to set up those entries to start with the single and double legs that can get Stephanie Egger to her back. We saw when Stephanie Egger fought Tracy Cortez that somebody with really good freestyle wrestling attacks can nullify the judo of Egger by not feeding her hips, by attacking the legs. Judokas really don't know how to stop single and double legs, you guys. It's not part of judo. And especially when you're an Olympian, especially when you're competing in the European Championships, the under 23s, the Olympics, you're competing within the rule set of your sport. And if judo is your sport, you're not defending wrestling attacks. You're not defending leg attacks. You use your upper body to get takedowns. You don't shoot in on somebody's legs. It's not even allowed. So I believe that even though Stephanie Egger is very good when she is on top, and that her judo is excellent in order to get fights to the ground, Jessica Rose Clark has shown a very good understanding of how to use her wrestling in order to win minutes on the ground. And I think that she's the much better striker here, you guys. We see that she's landing 0.45 more significant strikes per minute than she absorbs, despite the fact that her opponents throw more. She's got about almost 60% striking defense. She's never been knocked down. And Stephanie Egger is just not somebody who's got a striking background. It's getting better. It looked a lot better versus Shanna Young, but this is going to be a big step up in competition from Shanna Young here to Jessica Rose Clark. And Jessie, look at that 35% control time for, Stephanie Egger has attempted 10 takedowns and gotten 3 of them and has gotten 25% control time. But look at that. She's been controlled 46.27% of the time. Excuse me just a second. Let me get a cough out here. And I just want to show you the actual stats from that fight, you guys, because it is very important. There was a ton of control time for Tracy Cortez in that fight. Very small amounts of that fight actually took place at striking range. And when it was at striking range, she looked lost. But Cortez dominated the wrestling exchanges here. And I believe it's because of the background. Look at that. 600. She was controlled for 2/3 of that fight. Tracy Cortez got 598 seconds of control time, and Egger only got 127. And we see that wrestling attack, 3 of 5 on her takedown attempts, and on those 3 successful takedowns, she got 600 seconds of control time. So that's like 200 seconds. That's over 3 minutes of control time per successful takedown that Tracy Cortez got. And Egger even did get a reverse here. But I think, no, she didn't get any reverses. But I think it's a very good indication that somebody with a wrestling-heavy game plan can have success against somebody with Stephanie Egger's skill set. And Jessie Jess, I think, is just better everywhere, you guys. As you can see, the line has Jessie Jess around a -180 favorite here. I like Jessie Jess by decision. And the best that we can get that right now is +150, +138, +125. I think that would be the way to bet it, as Egger has never really been finished, and I don't think Jessica Rose Clark is going to finish her on the ground, but she can win a lot of minutes there, and I think she can win a lot of minutes on the feet. I'm gonna pick Jessica Rose Clark to win this one by decision, you guys. And let's see here. We've got a really good one coming up next, you guys. This is David Onama coming up against Gabriel Benitez here. David Onama made his UFC debut coming in on short notice, coming off of vacation on less than a week's notice against Mason Jones, a guy that's known for having a ton of output, having a really good chin, for really high-level judo player as well, black belt. And Onama gave him all that he can handle for 3 rounds. So now we get to see David Onama down to his natural weight class of featherweight here when he took that Mason Jones fight at lightweight. And we get to see him against a guy in Gabriel Benitez who, as he's getting older here at 33 years of age, has shown that he's having a really hard time making the featherweight limit. And here he is again fighting fairly recently after a loss. And David Onama is coming back in after that war with Mason Jones a few months ago. He's going to be 6 years younger, 3 inches taller, having a 3-inch reach advantage, and he fights out of both stances, you guys. I think that's really important here, as Benitez is a southpaw, but he's a southpaw who relies on his kicks a lot more than he does on his hands. And Onama is the opposite of that. Onama is a guy who works with his hands almost exclusively and very seldom uses his legs to attack. So kicks of Benitez against the hands of Onama, but Onama does have a 3-inch reach advantage, a 3-inch height advantage. I think that's going to help. He's fighting out of Gloria MMA, straight out of Uganda, while Gabriel Benitez, American Kickboxing Academy, and he is Mexican. We got David Onama with 9 professional fights, Gabriel Benitez with 31, almost 200 more minutes in the pro cage for Benitez, and about 12 more years as a pro mixed martial artist for Benitez. So even though David Onama is going to be the much bigger guy and he's got the much better measurables in this fight, it's going to be Benitez who's way more experienced and fought the much higher percentage of his career at the UFC level and has fought the much better brand of competition. Benitez, a fantastic finisher here at 81% in his career, while David Onama has a 100% finish rate in his 8 wins. So it's actually 26 out of these guys' combined 30 wins have finished inside the distance. So violence is something that sticks out here. And we've seen Gabriel Benitez been finished in 5 of his 9 professional losses, while it's 0 of 1 for Onama. So these guys have been finished in the combined 50% of their losses. So they're a little more durable than most. And it's Benitez who gets knocked out, and Onama gets more knockouts than he does submissions, but Onama has a really nice guillotine or a ninja choke that he's finished a couple of fights with. One over Raymond Bighead, and another one over a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in Justin Overton. So he's got a really nice front choke that he can use. And Gabriel Benitez, also known for his front chokes. Gabriel Benitez is a guy who doesn't wrestle at all. His opponents try to take him down. He wants to keep the fight standing. But what Benitez does well is uses his jiu-jitsu in reverse to keep the fight on the feet. So when you're shooting in for takedowns, he's going for his guillotines and front chokes, and he's got a lot of submissions finishing fights that way. Because he's such a good kickboxer, because he kicks so hard, he usually forces his opponent to shoot and to go for the grappling exchanges, and he's very good at finishing fights when people do shoot in. So David Onama does wrestle a lot, and he is very good on the ground. He's very good everywhere. Really not a lot of holes in this guy's game that we saw. It's going to be interesting to see how he deals with the kicks of Benitez, because we didn't really see a kick-heavy attack from Mason Jones, and we haven't seen much of a kick-heavy attack from his opponents on the regional scene. But this guy has had some of the best coaching for a very long time. So, I mean, ever since I've seen David Onama's first pro fight, I've seen either James Krause or Grant Dawson in his corner. So this guy is working with top-level mixed martial artists and coaches to round out his game and get him ready for the UFC. And we saw in that debut that this dude is ready. The striking is good. The takedown defense, not great. It's actually kind of a big hole. But Gabriel Benitez never, ever, ever shoots for takedowns. So we don't have to worry about that. It's really who's going to be more proficient on the feet here. And if Onama doesn't like how it's going on the feet, will he be able to shoot in for a takedown and get it and keep his neck safe? Stay out of Gabriel Benitez's front chokes. Because if he can do that, I think he can easily win this fight. If he can mix in the wrestling successfully to win minutes when he doesn't like how it's going on the feet. But if it's just on the feet, when I've got a kickboxer against a boxer, I always favor the kickboxer. And the kickboxer in this case has 22 more pro fights. He's fought the much better brand of competition. He's a southpaw, and his kicks are 10 times better than Onama's. So this fight, I have it a little bit closer than what the line in Vegas has it. I think that this is a very close to 50-50 fight. But I think David Onama has more ways to win. I think he's longer, younger. He's got better conditioning, and he's got a more well-rounded game. He's got more weapons. And by weapons, I mean the ability to mix in the grappling to win minutes. And then with Benitez, you can't ignore the fact that he is a great kickboxer, that, a southpaw that throws leg kicks and body kicks that are as ferocious as Benitez is going to be a unique challenge for Onama. And we don't really know how he's going to deal with it. But the good news is, in my opinion, that because Benitez, if you watch the tape on him, he hasn't evolved at all. He's the same fighter now that he was when he came into the UFC. He still is not going to try any takedowns. He's still not going to mix in the wrestling. He's still going to use his jiu-jitsu in reverse to keep the fight standing, and he's going to throw heavy leg kicks and heavy body kicks and try to finish you when you come in, either with counter-striking or with front chokes. David Onama, though, because he's over at Gloria MMA, because he's got great coaches and training partners, I think that because Gabriel Benitez brings the exact same game plan every single time, that Onama's coaches will be able to get him ready, and that youth, that superior athletic ability, that more well-rounded game, and that much better conditioning, and I even think better hands, to be honest with you. David Onama has power in both hands. He's knocking people out with the right and the left. I really think the sky's the limit for this kid. I'm going to pick I'm going to pick David Onama to win this one. I'm going to pick him to win it by decision. But I think it's going to be very close, and I think it's going to be one hell of a fight, you guys. But let's move on to a guy that you guys well know is dead to his uncle Weezy. It's Abdul Razak Alhassan, and he is going to be taking on Joaquin Buckley. Now, Abdul Razak Alhassan is a guy that has made a prick out of your uncle Weezy, not once, not twice, not thrice even, like 4 or 5 times. Every time I get this guy's fights wrong. If I pick him to win, he gets his ass shaved. If I pick him to shave ass, it's him getting his ass shaved. If he's out there shaving ass, I picked his opponent to shave his ass. You get it right? You see what I'm saying? I don't know what the fuck's going on with this fights. I don't know what the hell is going to happen in an Abdul Razak Alhassan fight. Either Abdul Razak Alhassan wins by knockout in the first round, or he loses. Will he get the first round knockout against Joaquin Buckley? I don't know, man. I don't know. But let's go through the numbers here. Let's figure out what we got. And then let's see if we can come to a conclusion. But the conclusion that I'm coming to is that I'm not betting on these fights. I've already got Brady on call. If he finds out that I've bet any part of this fight, he's sending the 1-800-GAMBLER orderlies to my house to put me in a straitjacket, throw me in a padded room for like a week where they're going to play REM's Everybody Hurts on a loop, and they're going to torture me for doing things that I shouldn't be doing. And what shouldn't I be doing? Betting on Abdul Razak Alhassan fights, because I get my ass shaved every single time. And the goal of Just the Tip with Uncle Weezy is to pick somebody else who's going to get their ass shaved, not me. I don't need my ass shaved. I don't want my ass shaved. It doesn't do me any good. I need to pick it for you guys. I need to pick the guy getting their ass shaved. And if I'm doing it on an Abdul Razak Alhassan fight, it's going to be me that winds up getting embarrassed on Saturday. So we're not doing it this time, you guys. I'm going to take you through the numbers responsibly. I'm not going to make any picks, and I'm going to let you guys choose what you guys want to do, and I'm not going to tell you what to do. But here we go, you guys. Joaquin Buckley, much younger. Gotta love that. 9 years younger than Abdul Razak. Also, Joaquin Buckley is a natural middleweight, while Abdul Razak just can't make 170 anymore, so he's been forced up to 185 after 2 botched weight cuts. So both of these guys are 5'10". Joaquin Buckley, 3-inch reach advantage, and he's the southpaw here, while Abdul Razak Alhassan is an orthodox fighter. Joaquin out of Finney's Hit Squad. It's Fortis MMA for Abdul Razak Alhassan. So Buckley has got a nice little tail of the tape advantage here, being 9 years younger and having a 3-inch reach advantage and being a southpaw. He's also got 2 more professional fights and about 70 more minutes in the pro cage, so he's more experienced. But it's Abdul Razak Alhassan who has fought the better brand of competition and fought a bigger percentage of his career at the UFC level. So with only 2 more pro fights and 70 more minutes, I would still say that the experience advantage is very similar because Abdul Razak Alhassan has fought a higher percentage of his career at the UFC level, you guys. So, we've got a 100% finish rate in the UFC for Joaquin Buckley and a 77% finish rate overall. We've got a 100% finish rate for Abdul Razak Alhassan, all of them in the first round, all of them by knockout. So these guys only knock people out and they don't submit people. And then when we look at how these guys lose, they either lose once by decision and 3 times by knockout for Buckley, or 3 times by decision and 1 time by knockout for Abdul Razak Alhassan. So both of these guys really only knock people out, and both of these guys, when they get finished, only get knocked out. So this fight is most likely to end by knockout. The striking numbers. Here's the big numbers, you guys. Abdul Razak Alhassan lands a knockdown on 3.5% of the significant strikes that he lands. For Joaquin Buckley, it's 2.56%. So both of these guys landing well over 1.5 knockdowns for 15 minutes. They both got great power. It's Buckley who's throwing more volume than his opponents. Neither one of these guys has particularly great striking defense. Buckley's been knocked down on 2% of the significant strikes that he's absorbed. And for Abdul Razak Alhassan, it's been less than 0.5%. Which one of these guys can take a punch better? Probably Alhassan, but I don't know. Which one of these guys is more likely to go to the grappling? Well, it would be Buckley. He's attempting 2.4 takedown attempts per fight, while for Abdul Razak Alhassan, it's less than 1. Abdul Razak Alhassan has faced a lot of takedown attempts, and he can't stop a takedown to save his life. He's being taken down 5.13 times for 15 minutes and being controlled for 42% of his UFC career. So that's the secret to beat Abdul Razak Alhassan, is just to either knock him out like Chaos Williams did, which is very difficult to do, but the easiest way to do it is just to take the guy down, put him on his ass. If you last through the first 5 minutes, he's got nothing left, and then you can just rinse and repeat the takedowns for the rest of the fight. It's exactly what Akhmedov did. It's exactly what Malkoun did, and Munir Lazez just he just weathered the storm. And once if Abdul doesn't get you out of there in the first 2-3 minutes, he's done. So he's the older man here. He's the less well-rounded guy. I mean, he's got good judo, but it doesn't do him any good because he doesn't use it offensively. And judo doesn't help you stop takedowns when people are shooting single and double legs against you. So it kind of leaves him wide open to that kind of attack. But unfortunately, that's not Joaquin Buckley's game. He's only got 11.68% control time in his UFC career. So I think that this fight, as much as Joaquin Buckley might want to get it to the ground, I don't think he'll be successful getting it to the ground, and I don't think he'll be successful holding him there. So if that's the case, I think that Abdul Razak Alhassan can actually win this fight in the first round. Buckley could land a big shot, but I think it's Abdul Razak who winds up landing that big shot first. But like I said, you guys, I'm not betting it. If you're on that Abdul Razak Alhassan side, pick him to win by KO or pick him to win by first round KO. And then that way you can get him by his only win condition, which is knocking out. This guy couldn't win a minute in a second or third round to save his life. So you don't bet this guy to win by decision. He can really only win inside the distance. Buckley could win minutes, but he's not particularly great at it, So this fight probably doesn't go to decision. I know that you can tell on the ticker there that it's a wide line already. But, yeah, I'm going to pick Abdul Razak Alhassan to win this one by first round knockout. But like I said, you guys, I'm not going to bet it. It is Buckley who's faced a little bit better competition and beaten the better competition here. And Abdul Razak Alhassan, well, probably Buckley just has the advantage everywhere with strength of schedule. He's younger, he's longer, he's a little more likely to try a takedown, but I don't see him. I don't. He is chinny. He's been knocked down on 2% of these significant strikes that he's absorbed. So I think it'll be Abdul Razak who lands the big shot first. And if he does that, I think it'll be a first round knockout. So yeah, man, this is going to be a very exciting fight, and I can't wait to watch it. And frankly, I hope Alhassan gets slept because this guy's lost me so much money and made a prick out of me so many times that there would be a little bit of schadenfreude for me there. But you know what? Somebody most likely is going to get knocked out, wake up looking at the lights a couple of minutes later in searing pain, wondering why they do this for a living. And we'll get to sit back and enjoy it as mixed martial arts fans. So rooting for a knockout here, rooting for some violence here. I think you can parlay the fight doesn't go to decision for this fight and feel pretty good about it. And yeah, the pick will be Abdul Razak Alhassan by first round knockout, you guys. And let's see here. We've got Jim Miller now against Nick Motta. This is going to be an interesting fight. I've already broken this fight down before in the past, as I already had broken down the Buckley Alhassan fight that was supposed to take place at the end of last year. So Nick Motta is a guy who hits like a truck, you guys. Not particularly great in the grappling, but he absolutely deadens people when he hits them, man. It's like he's got a roll of nickels in that glove of his. And Jim Miller is a UFC veteran with 38 UFC fights and 50 professional fights and over 15 years as a professional mixed martial artist. My bet that I have on this fight is I have fight doesn't go to decision for minus 110 for 1.1 units. I probably should have smashed it for 2.2. I love the fight doesn't go to decision for this one because Nick Motta has been finished in all 3 of his losses, and he's been submitted twice. And Jim Miller is kind of like a first round or bust fighter, and he's been that way for a long time. And he really fought like he was double parked last time out against Eric the Ghost Pepper Gonzalez. So he showed a lot less concern for his chin and for getting knocked out. It looked like he was like, hey, I'm getting paid either way, but I'm not getting paid by the minute. So he went out there swinging. And he didn't even really try to take down Gonzalez that much. He seemed happy to stand and bang with him, and he was absorbing quite a few heavy strikes, but he got a knockout early in the second round. We can see over the huge sample size of numbers that we have for Miller here that he absorbs more strikes than he lands. His opponents throw more than he lands, than he does. 41% striking accuracy for Jim Miller. 59% striking defense for Jim Miller. Not particularly chinny and not particularly powerful. Nick Motta showing 66.87% striking defense in the one fight that we saw him in. It was a Contender Series fight. And the thing about Miller is here, you see 41 takedowns, you're like, oh, that's a lot. But that's 41 takedowns in 38 fights, you guys. So the people who think that Jim Miller is going to be the kind of guy that's going to go out there and spam takedowns and really commit to the wrestling to get the fight to the ground so that he can submit his opponents, that's not Jim Miller. He's the kind of guy that I would have been driven crazy betting on him 10 years ago because even though he's fantastic on the ground, he really doesn't seem in a rush to get it there. He snatches up opportunities. If you get out over your toes on a punch, he might shoot a reactive double leg and sometimes he can get your back in a scramble, but he just doesn't shoot a lot of takedowns. This is less than 3 takedown attempts per fight. And his fights are taking place in control time positions over half of the fights, but he's being out-controlled by his opponents, despite the fact that he's attempting 11 more takedowns. He's only got 47% takedown defense himself, but I don't think Nick Motta is going to be trying to take this dude down. I think what he's going to be trying to do is take his head off. But Jim Miller, you guys, he's a veteran. You got to love him. 50 fights, 38 years old, though. I see why he's an underdog here. I'm very worried that he's not going to get this fight to the ground. And if he doesn't, Nick Motta is going to absolutely knock him out. But the one thing that I am confident about is if he does get this fight to the ground, that Nick's going to be in a lot of trouble, and Jim could easily finish him. So to me, it really feels like fight doesn't go to decision here is a very safe bet, because Jim Miller has not been defensively responsible lately, and that leaves the door wide open for a Nick Motta knockout, and the dude hits like a truck. But also, Nick Motta has not shown great grappling and wrestling defense in the past, so I do believe that if Jim Miller goes in there with a good game plan and he wants to protect his chin and, you know, show a little longevity here and fight for a little bit longer, not get knocked out, not wind up with a concussion, he could have success doing that. So it's a very tough ask to bring in a guy like Nick Motta and give him Jim Miller, a veteran of that level, for, you know, because he's going to be at a huge experience disadvantage here, a huge strength of schedule disadvantage. The average record of a Jim Miller opponent in the UFC is 9.18 wins and 6.18 losses, 15.37 total fights, and a 1.5 ratio. So, you know, Nick Motta is not bringing anything that Jim Miller hasn't seen in the cage 10 times already. You know, he's seen a bunch of guys that have a ton of power, you know, and he's beaten a lot of these guys, and he's lost to some of these guys. But the experience advantage here, the grappling advantage here, and the fact that he's actually the longer, taller guy, or the guy with the longer reach, and that he's the southpaw here, there's a lot of reasons to like Jim Miller here. You know, I think I'm definitely picking that this fight doesn't go to decision, but I do think that Jim Miller has definitely got an option. My best bet for this fight doesn't go to decision. But if I had to pick, I don't have enough faith that Jim's going to go to the wrestling here enough in order to win enough minutes down there to have a chance to submit him. So I'm going to pick Nick Motta to win this by knockout, you guys, in a violent knockout at that. I saw a couple people in here. We got my guy B saying, "Good night, Weezy Nation. Hope we keep on keeping on. Thanks for hanging out, B. Much appreciated." What BJJ belt is Motta? I don't know, but he's nowhere near the ground practitioner that Jim Miller is. And we got my guy Liam Picks Fights in the room. If you haven't already subscribed to Liam's channel, definitely go and do that. He does a great either Thursday or Friday night show where he has a couple cappers on his channel to break down every fight on the card. They talk about bets. Liam's on a heater. Dude cashes a lot of bets. I do the watch along with him on Pub Sports Radio, and we do some combat court stuff over there on Pub Sports too. So absolutely, man. Good to see Liam in here hanging out. And Addicted to Combat said, D. Chirico kicks Buckley. Alhassan kicks D. Chirico. Let's go Buckley KO head kick to make the MMA math complete, to complete that circle. Love it. Addicted to Combat. Fantastic stuff there, man. And Frank Sawzy saying, love you, Weezy. Love you too, brother. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, the pick's going to be Motta there by knockout. We'll say second round, you guys. Parker Porter against Alan Baudot. Let's get that banner here. I'm adding a little, I'm trying to add, just upgrade the show a little bit here at a time. We even had an intro video this time, and we've got the banners with the current lines, and the fight doesn't go to decision. Trying to step things up for you guys here, and trying to step up and get the first decent win of his career here is Alan Baudot at 34 years of age, squaring off against Parker Porter at 36. It's going to be Baudot, who's 3 inches taller, and a 4-inch reach advantage here. Both of these guys are orthodox fighters. MMA Factory, Cyril Gahn's training partner for Alan Baudot, and it's Thornton MMA for Parker Porter. Parker, so I guess he must train then with William Knight, I guess, because William Knight, I think, is also at Thornton. And I know both Parker Porter and William Knight were fighting out of CES when they were on the regional scene, so that's definitely a possibility. Okay. All right, so let's see here. We got Parker Porter 7 more professional fights in comparison to Baudot. About 50 more minutes in the cage and about 6 more years as a pro. 1 more UFC level fight and about 25 more minutes in the UFC cage. We've got Parker Porter with a 67% finish rate. He's finished 8 of his 12 wins inside the distance. And for Alan Baudot, 7 of his 8 wins inside the distance, all by knockout. And he's been finished in all 3 of his losses by knockout, while Parker Porter has been finished in 5 of his 6 losses, 3 times by knockout, 2 times by submission. And Parker Porter throws a ton of volume for a heavyweight, you guys. 8.47 significant strikes landed per minute, 7.78 absorbed, throwing 16.19 per minute, 52.33% striking accuracy, 50% striking defense. He has been knocked down once, and that's 0.87 knockdowns allowed per 15 minutes. Alan Baudot's striking looked great in the first round against Rodrigo Nascimento, but then Nascimento came out in the second and absolutely shaved his ass. So it looks like Alan Baudot has about 1 round of cardio here, and maybe he just kind of emptied the tank because he did put on quite a pace in that first round of the Nascimento fight. But like I say, he just couldn't keep it up. And then Nascimento, who's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and not known for his striking, actually just took it to Baudot. And, Baudot, the biggest problem here that we're seeing on the numbers for the striking is the 39.81% striking defense. Parker has gotten 3 of his 12 takedown attempts, and he's out-controlling his opponent 19.63% to 3.05%, while Baudot is being out-controlled 39% to 7.85%. He's giving up a lot of control time. Parker Porter is a guy who can absolutely control his opponents on the ground. The guy's got legs like tree trunks, and he's just very difficult to get out from under. So Baudot's game is some nice striking, some nice athleticism. He moves well for a big guy, bounces around a lot, moves pretty well laterally, throws strikes, throws kicks, throws knees. And Parker Porter throws a lot of volume, kind of turns up the volume as the fight goes on. And he's a deceptive guy because he looks kind of out of shape, but he's a real natural heavyweight with very big legs, kind of built like a triangle. He's just wider on the bottom than he is on the top. But his conditioning is excellent for a heavyweight. And he kind of turns up that pace as the fight goes on. And it has been a major weapon for him, taking it to guys like Parisian, who has a good pace of his own, and Chase Sherman by just kind of turning it up on them as the fight goes on, throwing more volume. He outboxed Chase Sherman. He uses, when he's in the clinch, when he's got his opponent's back up against the cage, he'll reach over for a guillotine and then use that to put his weight on top of his opponents, and he can use that guillotine as a takedown attempt, can Parker Porter. And he's got a good chin, too. I mean, he has been knocked out before, but you saw him in the UFC taking some shots from Daukaus, taking some shots from Parisian and Sherman, and continuing to walk forward and continuing to pressure his opponents. So if he can survive the early storm from Baudot, I really see him getting a finish here, either in the second or the third round. Parker Porter, not known for one shot knockout or knockdown power, even though we have seen him do it. He's a heavyweight. He does hit hard, and he's technically sound. I like Parker Porter just about everywhere better than Alan Baudot. I think the striking is close, but the conditioning, in my opinion, is the biggest thing here. And Baudot's inability to do anything on the ground when he has an opponent on top of him is very scary. So, and then we even look at the strength of schedule here, and this is something that's going to be very important to look at, you guys. This guy, Baudot, the guys that he's beating are absolute bums. Let's see here. So before the UFC, the last win was against Todd Stout, and he lost that fight. Todd Stout finished him at 354 into round number 3 with submission. But I don't know why that was a disqualification. I don't know what happened there. But his last win is actually a loss. And then the wins before that were against an 0-2 Yuto Nakajima, a 6-11-3 Yasuki Matsuda, a 0-0 Chul Young Jen back in 2016, a 4-3 Dong Jing Wu, a 15-9-2 Shunsuke Inoue. That was a 5th round knockout via ground and pound, but I can't find that fight on the tape index, so I never got to see that. And then he's got a win over Yuki Sakuragi, who's 15-22, and then Akira Iwazaki 0-0. So this guy, if he were to beat, if he were to win this fight against Porter, it would be by far the best opponent he's ever beaten. This would be a big step up for him. The striking did look great, but the conditioning is not good. The ground game is not good. The takedown defense is not good. So I'm going to be picking Parker Porter to win this, and I'm going to probably be picking him. I'll probably be placing a bet plus 110, Parker Porter inside the distance. I'll also be sprinkling the second and the third round props because I think that's the most likely time that we'll see him finish Baudot. Because I think Baudot will have some success striking in the first. But I love the fight doesn't go to decision for this fight. I love Parker Porter inside the distance, and I like Parker Porter round 2 and round 3 as well, you guys. The pick is going to be Parker Porter by second round knockout. And then we go to the co-main event here, and we've got Kyle Daukaus against Jamie Pickett here, you guys. Kyle Daukaus minus 260, Jamie Pickett plus 220, and the fight doesn't go to decision is actually plus money at plus 115. It's going to be Kyle Daukaus, who's 5 years younger. It's going to be Kyle, who's 1 inch taller, but Jamie Pickett's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here. It's Kyle, who's the southpaw, fighting out of Martinez BJJ. Jamie Pickett, orthodox, out of the hit pit. It's Jamie Pickett with 6 more professional fights, 50 more minutes in the pro cage, and about 5.5 more years as a pro mixed martial artist. He's also got 2 more UFC level fights and about 8 more minutes in the UFC cage. Jamie Pickett has a 70% finish rate as a pro, 62% by knockout, 8% by sub, while Kyle Daukaus has an 80% sub rate as a pro. He's never knocked anybody out, and he has 2 wins by decision. Pickett has been finished in 3 of his 6 losses. Kyle Daukaus has never been finished. When we look at the striking numbers, Daukaus is landing about a half more significant strike per minute than he absorbs, and he throws about 1.6 more significant strike attempts than he absorbs, showing 54% striking accuracy, no power yet, and he's been knocked down once in 166 significant strikes absorbed. Pickett landing 3.02, but absorbing 4.17 significant strikes a minute. So that's a pretty big red flag. 50% accuracy, 1 knockdown, and he's been knocked down twice in 298 significant strikes absorbed. While this fight is on the feet, I think it'll be very close. Jamie Pickett, not much of a minute winner on the feet with his striking. When he wins minutes on the cage, it's usually just in a very slow, hold your opponent's back up against the cage, somebody smaller than you like Staropoli. He's not much of a minute winner outside of that type of a strategy. While Daukaus has got pretty good hands, but he doesn't have any faith in them. And his takedown game, not particularly great. Only 27.59% takedown accuracy. But when he does get the takedowns, he's very good on top. He's actively working for submissions. He's working for ground and pound. He's looking to finish the fight down there. That's where he's comfortable finishing fights. He's showing 85% takedown defense, and fights are taking place in control time positions over 2/3 of the time, Kyle Daukaus. So the fact that he's a grappler and looks to grapple first, and his fights take place in grappling positions, shows me that Kyle Daukaus can go into a fight and knows what he wants to do in order to be comfortable. I really don't see that out of Pickett. I don't see a lot of confidence from him. He doesn't let his hands go when he's at distance striking. He's very tentative. And even though he's gotten 8 of his 16 takedown attempts, he's still only managed 10% control time. That's not nearly enough. And especially, that's less than 1 minute of control time per takedown gotten. So that's, he's letting people right back up. But Daukaus is showing, he's like 2.5 minutes of control time per takedown that he gets. So it's Daukaus who's been way more efficient in the grappling exchanges, and he's the more likely guy to let his hands go on the feet. So I really think he's at a big advantage here. I think he's better everywhere than Jamie Pickett. And then we see that he's fighting the better brand of competition here. 2.71 win-to-loss ratio does the competition of Daukaus have, while it's less than 1 for Jamie Pickett. And he's fighting the more experienced competition as well and beating the more experienced and better win-loss ratio competition as well. So strength to schedule advantage here for Daukaus. Youth advantage for Daukaus. Height advantage for Daukaus. He's a southpaw. And a big grappling advantage here for Daukaus. While Pickett's got the power advantage, both of these guys are durable, and Pickett's got a experience advantage as well. So I'm going to pick Kyle Daukaus to win this fight. I think he's probably going to win it by decision. I have a bet on this fight on FanDuel.com. I think a really cheeky bet, you guys, that I was looking at here was Kyle Daukaus double chance to win by decision or submission, because Pickett's a very durable guy, very hard to finish via knockout. If you're going to finish him, it's going to be by submission. And also, Daukaus has never finished anybody by knockout. He has 8 pro wins by submission and 2 pro wins by decision. So he's never even won by knockout. And Jamie Pickett is notoriously hard to knock out. So instead of paying minus 230 for Kyle Daukaus on the money line, why not take the double chance and take Kyle Daukaus by decision or submission at minus 165? So you only have to bet 1.65 units to win one instead of 2.3 units to win one. And you really kind of absorb what would be 95% of Kyle Daukaus's win condition in this fight. So that is the Uncle Weezy official play for this fight, you guys. I think Kyle Daukaus actually does have a chance to get this down to the ground and to submit Jamie Pickett, but the bet is going to be Kyle Daukaus by submission or on points right down there at the bottom of the screen right here, you guys, minus 165 on FanDuel. And that brings us to the main event, you guys. We got Jamahal Hill at minus 250 squaring off against Johnny Walker plus 210. The fight doesn't go to decision, an 80% implied probability at minus 400. So let's get into these stats here. And we have got Jamahal Hill 1 year older. It's going to be Johnny Walker, the bigger dude here, 2 inches taller, a 3-inch reach advantage. Jamahal Hill is a southpaw. Johnny Walker is a switch stance fighter. SBG Ireland for Johnny Walker, Black Lion Jiu-Jitsu for Jamahal Hill, United States for Jamahal Hill, Brazil for Walker. It's Walker who has 13 more professional fights and 20 more minutes in the pro cage and almost 4 more years as a pro mixed martial artist. And Johnny Walker has 2 more UFC level fights as well, and about 25 more minutes in the UFC cage. Both of these guys' average fight time sits between 6 and 8 minutes, so they're both finishers. It is Jamahal Hill who's finished 56% of his pro wins by knockout and 3 of his 4 UFC wins by knockout. Johnny Walker has finished 4 of his 5 UFC wins by knockout and 94% of his 18 professional wins by knockout. That's 17 of 18 wins inside the distance for Johnny Walker. So, Jamahal Hill will be the minute winner and Johnny Walker will be the moment winner in this fight. Jamahal Hill has been finished in his only loss, while Johnny Walker has been finished in 4 of his 6 losses. So 5 of these guys' 7 combined losses have come inside the distance, about 71% combined. So in the striking numbers, both of these guys showing a lot of power. Johnny Walker lands 3.42, absorbs 2.81. He throws more volume than his opponents, almost 60% striking accuracy, but 40% striking defense. And Jamahal Hill is he's doubling his opponents in terms of what he lands and what he throws. He lands 7.45, absorbs 3.68, 52% striking accuracy, 45% striking defense. And it's Jamahal Hill who's getting some knockdowns with those hands of his. You know, Johnny Walker is really dangerous. He's very explosive. He can knock you out with fists, elbows, knees, or legs. The guy's uses all 8 limbs, and he throws all of them with power. A lot of flashy shit, a lot of spinning shit, a lot of jumping shit. He's just really difficult to plan for. And that size makes it difficult to close the distance on him. But it's also interesting because even though he has that 6'6" frame and that 82-inch reach, I've never even seen the guy throw a jab. Not once. Not once have I seen this guy throw a jab. So I don't know if he uses his length well. Jamahal Hill does. Jamahal Hill uses his length very well. He uses his conditioning very well in order to push a pace and really put output on people. And man, when he starts letting his hands go, dude, he absolutely hurts people. He can hurt you with hooks and straight punches and knees as well. Knees and kicks to the body. When his opponent, because Jamahal Hill is a southpaw, is fighting orthodox, he throws these body kicks that are absolutely vicious. So Jamahal not only has great conditioning to push a pace, which he does, and throws a bunch of weapons, but he's also really smart at determining what weapons work best out of what stance, because he's had a couple of fights where he's fought southpaws, and southpaw against southpaw usually will gum up the output of a southpaw because they don't get the chance to fight a lot of southpaws. But Jamahal had a really good understanding of what weapons to use when Ovin St. Preux was switching stances on him, and when Khalil Roundtree was switching stances on him. And what else did I see? Corey Anderson was even switching stances on him a little bit. So, Klitzen Abreu. So this is a situation where Jamahal Hill, I believe, is the much better striker. He's going to throw more output. He's going to be more accurate, and he's better defensively. And he knows how to set up his defense with his feet, with his head movement. He does that very well. So there's a lot of things I like here about Hill. He's gonna have to be a little bit better defensively responsible because of 45.28% striking defense. I know he's got a good chin, but Johnny Walker is the kind of guy who can absolutely crack your chin. This fight is going to end in knockout. I think it's going to be one of the more exciting fights of the year, despite the fact that, SBG Ireland appears to have ruined Johnny Walker. It's still only one fight. And prior to that, the Ryan Spann fight, he got a finish. And I believe he might have been he was fighting out of Ireland at that point already. So this might be his third fight with SBG. But, when Jamal's at his worst, it's when his opponents are trying to take him down. And Johnny Walker is not going to try to do that. This is going to be a fight that's going to take place on the feet. Jamal's going to throw more output. Jamal's going to have the better conditioning. Jamal's going to have the better footwork. Jamahal is even better responsive, more defensively responsible here. I think Walker has a better diversity of attacks, but if he's not changing stances and he allows Jamahal Hill to start throwing that straight left down the pipe and then following it up with the body kicks and the leg kicks with that heavy left leg of his, I think he's going to have a lot of problems here, and I think Jamahal Hill is going to knock him out. Fight ends by knockout is an interesting way to get a little bit better line on this, because if you're betting fight doesn't go to decision for this, you're going to be paying up around minus 400. Excuse me. But so we've got, let's see, will the fight go the distance? Minus 430. But if we go to how fight will end, KO is minus 330. So we could bet 3.3 units to win one instead of 4.3 units to win one. And all that we have to hope is that it's not a club and sub. But neither one of these guys are particularly gifted Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu players. And both of these guys have really only finished by knockout. I think Johnny Walker might have 1 or 2 subs, but these guys throw hands and they stand, and they prefer to stay standing. So I really do think it's whoever gets their weapons going will get the first knockout here, and we'll win this fight. I'm picking Jamahal Hill. I love the conditioning. I love the output. I love the pressure. And I love the use of the certain weapons depending on the stance that his opponents are in. He doesn't just throw hands. His knees and his kicks to the body are vicious. Johnny Walker is absolutely live for a knockout here. I think fight to end in KO is a great parlay piece here, but I'm going to be picking Jamahal Hill to beat Johnny Walker by second round knockout, you guys. And that has gotten us through all 12 fights on the UFC Vegas 48 card. And that leaves us with one order of business, you guys. And I'll put it on the ticker on the bottom. You know what it is? It's Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, man. And we've got 12 fights to choose from here. We picking Jamahal Hill to shave ass over Johnny Walker. We picking Daukaus to shave ass over Pickett. How about Parker Porter to shave ass over Alan the Black Samurai Baudot? Could happen, right? Miller Motta, Buckley Alhassan. I'm not picking an ass shaving in that fight, you guys. I've never gotten a fucking Alhassan fight right, so I'm not going to start now. Onama Benitez is great. I like Jesse Jess to beat Stephanie Egger, but I don't think it's going to be an ass shaving. But you know what I do think is going to be an ass shaving, you guys? And I hate to do it because I feel like I have to make a statement in one place, but in the other place, I kind of feel like, you know, you don't want to pick against guys that you feel really got a high ceiling. And I'm doing that today. My ass shaving of the week is going to be Jonathan Pearce to shave the ass of Christian Rodriguez, who is coming up a weight class and taking this fight on short notice against a guy whose biggest weapons are pace, pressure, and volume. An absolute nightmare opponent to take a fight on short notice against is the blueprint of that is Jonathan Pearce. Somebody with a really tough chin that you're not going to get lucky and land one big shot and sleep him. And then if you do get your boxing going, Pearce will just start mixing in the wrestling and exhaust you. And he can scramble and take you down and cage wrestle all day. He's been training at Fight Ready for a minute. Those guys are monsters on the cage. His conditioning is monster. His length and size for the division is crazy. His ability to be able to break his opponents and drown them in that pressure, pace, and volume that he brings is unmatched in the featherweight division, you guys. Jonathan Pearce, the sky is the limit for this kid. I have been a big fan of his for a very long time, and I am making a statement this week, and I am picking Jonathan Pearce to get this done inside the distance and drown Christian Rodriguez, who I think has a very bright future in the UFC. I just don't think that taking a short notice fight up a weight class against somebody like Jonathan Pearce is a good career move. But Christian Rodriguez is going to be back after this fight. He's doing the promotion a favor here, and I hope to see him back in the cage against a bantamweight. And I hope he makes weight this time because the UFC will owe him a favor for taking a short notice fight against an absolute monster like Jonathan Pearce. You guys, Jonathan Pearce, Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, and ring a ding, ding. My man Pascal Roshan with a huge donation that I appreciate massively. My man Uncle Weezy, hard at work, night in, night out. Appreciate the great content, brother. It means so much that you take the time to say that and then to support the show, Pascal. I'm so lucky to have the best audience out there on YouTube and mixed martial arts. You guys show me all kinds of love, and I appreciate each and every one of you, man. Mark saying, Weezy, you blew through this card tonight. Excellent stuff, man. I appreciate all the hard work. Victor, Nick, Pascal, Addicted to Combat. My guy earlier, who donated. Let's find them. We got Metalingus. We got Chris Kalanzis. We got Mark Schillingberg. We got Chris for the Love MMA. We got Scott Brown, Sean V, Frank Sawzy, my guy Nick Odd. You guys, thank you so much for supporting. God bless each and every one of you guys for spending your Tuesday night with your Uncle Weezy, breaking down all 12 of these fights on the UFC Vegas 48 card. I will be back tomorrow on Pub Sports Radio doing the DFS show at 7 o'clock Eastern time with Monk, DFS by the Numbers, and Luke from Sparring with Reality. And I think I'll be taking tomorrow night off from a Balls Deep breakdown here, you guys. I'm going to be working on some behind-the-scenes stuff. This is kind of a short card, only 12 fights. A little bit of a break between the next two cards are really fantastic. So I'll be giving you more content next week, and especially the week after for Masvidal against Colby. That's going to be an absolute banger. But until then, you guys, have a great night. I appreciate you guys hanging out for the last hour and 40 minutes with your Uncle Weezy. And let's stack cashed tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 48. Stay on this 5-event heater that I've been on. Let's make it 6, you guys. And I will see you guys tomorrow night on Pub Sports Radio. Thank you all for hanging out, and God bless.